Public policy in the 21st century has been underpinned by an increasing demand for decision makers to craft evidence-informed policy. In concert, there is a greater readiness to include different types of useful knowledge into decisions. In the English-speaking world, however, the practice has remained in favor of the word science. In other words, is the policy informed by the latest and best available science? This word choice introduces two questions. 1. What counts as science? And 2. How can this science be used to inform or advise government policy? First, what is science? To many, the concept of science relates to the physical world around us, that which can be measured. How tall, how heavy, how far, how fast. In these scenarios, we create theories and measure the difference between two or more groups or objects. That is to say, for many, science involves the formulation of predictions that can be tested and hypotheses that can be falsified. A medical lab or telescope often comes to mind. Perhaps we think of science more broadly, but then we may still hold that there is also real science. And the general connotation of the idea of real science often does not lead the mind to say peace studies or the science of science advice. So how is science leveraged to inform public policy? To help answer this question, we explored and contrasted the roles of departmental science advisors and their networks in the United Kingdom, New Zealand, and Canada. We drew the roles and responsibilities of these positions from websites and other publicly available information. Common across all three Commonwealth countries were the role of a singular chief science advisor, multiple departmental science advisors, and a network of departmental science advisors, although their official titles and official roles differed slightly by country. In Canada, the Office of the Chief Science Advisor was created in late 2017. The Chief Science Advisor was created to assist the federal government in leveraging science and existing best practices to inform federal policy as well as to ensure that federal scientists were able to speak freely about their work. There are also 7 departmental science advisors who provide arm's-length scientific advice to the various agencies and departments, ministers and deputy ministers, as well as the chief science advisor. The departmental science advisors are assigned to the following departments: the Canadian Space Agency, Environment and Climate Change Canada, Fisheries and Oceans Canada, Health Canada, the Natural Research Council, Natural Resources Canada, and the Public Health Agency of Canada. Arguably, these organizations are more likely to subscribe to a positivist interpretation of science. In comparison, the situation in the United Kingdom and New Zealand is older and more developed. The United Kingdom has 23 departmental science advisor equivalents, and New Zealand has 19 departmental science advisors who serve similar roles to their Canadian counterparts. The United Kingdom and New Zealand departmental science advisor networks are highly interconnected, and the departmental science advisors often serve advisory functions on multiple advisory committees. This is less common in Canada. Additionally, the United Kingdom and New Zealand include departmental science advisors from a broader interpretation of science, and perhaps something more akin to evidence or knowledge. For instance, they have departmental science advisors in education, digital culture, media and sport, justice, housing and urban development, national security, among others. New Zealand also explicitly mentions the value of Indigenous and traditional knowledge, something still vague in the Canadian system of departmental science advisors, and rather absent in the United Kingdom system. As the Office of the Chief Science Advisor and Departmental Science Advisor network in Canada continues to mature, the inclusion of departmental science advisors that can provide insight and advice into areas more traditionally within the social sciences, similar to housing and urban development, justice, defense, and others, would be a source of competitive advantage. Canada also has an opportunity to lead the world by embedding departmental science advisors to inform on science-related issues that relate to equity, diversity, and inclusion, as well as in Indigenous affairs. We believe that this comparison hints at a hierarchy of knowledge, possibly unconsciously guided by the connotation of the word science in the English language. That is to say, we start or prioritize with the hard or real sciences and end with what are soft or social sciences as well as indigenous and traditional knowledge. Finally, the governments around the world and their associated public policy must rapidly address the tenets of equity, diversity, and inclusion, as well as an indigenous and traditional knowledge. We highlight that there are real intersectionalities between the diversity of science advisors and how science, as a general concept, is interpreted. Food for thought. Thank you.